Hey, I'm Alicia, your non-monogamous relationship coach. Welcome to the podcast where my friends and I chat about our relationships, enthusiastic non-monogamy, polyamory, swinging, kink, and our lives. You'll get a candid peek into what makes it worth it to live life outside the box. And in case you're still wondering, nope, we're not monogamous. Hey, welcome. If you're feeling helpless and overwhelmed trying to feel and understand compersion, despite all of the communication and empathy and self-awareness efforts, then you're not alone. From feeling jealous to competing with your partner's other partners, a lot of people feel like compersion is just this impossible thing, or maybe not even real. Don't believe that. Today, I am introducing Marie Thouin, a dating and relationship coach with a passion for understanding the intricacies of non-monogamous relationships. And she's a PhD researcher on compersion. She's studied this. Her experience with questioning the social norms around monogamy led her to exploring alternative relationship dynamics and conducting research to help others find harmony in their own relationships. You're going to hear so many good tips around like metamours and compersion, how to overcome your jealousy and experience compersion and what that even means. And also, if you are one of our Patreon supporters, patreon.com/notmonogamous, you're going to hear her just the tip, behind the scenes content where Marie and I are going to dish about a really sexy practice that you can do with your partners. Enjoy. Awesome. Okay, cool. So we're here. We made it. We're doing this podcast thing. And welcome. I really appreciate that you're here and talking to us. Fantastic. So let's start with, well, why don't I do this? Why don't you tell me and the listeners a little bit about yourself and your background and how you became interested in the concept of compersion.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
And so I'm primarily a dating and relationship coach. I work with people one-on-one who are either single and dating or in a relationship and wanting support with that. And I'm also a compersion researcher. So a few years ago, I did a PhD and my dissertation was a study on the topic of compersion with non-monogamous folks. And I came to that topic because I've always been super uncomfortable with mononormativity, which is a big word that means that monogamy is assumed to be the only valid and respectable relationship choice. From, just remembering like high school and college and starting to date people and feeling that this whole system of like, okay, well, when you like someone, you have to only be with them and with nobody else, it just never landed for me. It just always felt like this foreign thing. And so I got intrigued from a pretty young age in the communities of people that did things differently and that did openly love and engage intimately with more than one person at a time. And, over the years, I've engaged in those groups and it's not easy in either paradigm, really, to conduct relationships, but I wanted to know how really successful non-monogamous relationships really evolved and how they were structured and what people did differently in them. So that's why I decided to eventually do some empirical research on that topic. And compersion felt like this really great way to kind of build a roadmap of like, okay, what circumstances need to be in place for people to experience compersion? Because they obviously don't always experience it. No one experiences compersion 100% of the time. And it can be a really good barometer for when it's really working in harmony.
Yeah. Can you, for people who aren't familiar with the term, can you describe what compersion is?
Yes, thank you for that. Let's backtrack to the basics. So compersion is, in very simple terms, feeling happy for and with somebody else's joy. It's wholeheartedly participating in someone else's good fortune and happiness.
Mm.
And what I found through my research is that it can take a few different flavors. One is the emotional and embodied experience of like, wow, like I'm actually really feeling this empathic, embodied sense of your joy. But it can also mean it's an attitudinal way to participate in your joy. Like, oh, I am so happy that you're experiencing this good, relationship with someone else. I'm not getting a contact high out of it, but overall interpret it as a positive event, and I'm supportive of that.
Yeah.
So the word compersion was born out of polyamorous communities to describe that sense of shared joy we can have for our partners when they're happy with someone else.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I have always, from very early on, have have identified as a very jealous and possessive person. And I remember, I think we've been non-monogamous for about 10 years now, and it took a solid like 5 years for me to ever experience compersion. Like it was not,
Mm,
and people come to me all the time and go, I want to be really happy for my partner. And I'm like, can we maybe maybe look for like feeling neutral? Start there.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
Because it's like a really
Totally.
good goal, but if you haven't ever experienced it, how do you even know if you're getting there?
Right, right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do not like the concept of compersion because it feels like pressure.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Like, oh, I have to be happy for this thing that maybe doesn't feel good for me.
Yes, exactly.
Ooh.
And if I don't experience it, that means I'm not poly enough
Yeah.
or I'm not, evolved enough.
Oh. Oh, that's the worst.
That is the worst.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's why, making that distinction between, an attitude of compersion
Mm.
and an emotional embodied experience of compersion is so important
Yeah.
because that emotional embodied experience, it's not necessary. It's a bonus, in my opinion, to, it's like the cherry on top of like, oh yeah, great, I get free joy out of you having joy. But yeah, sometimes just getting to neutrality is heroic in itself. And it can actually blend with like an attitude of like, yeah, I want to support you. I want to be happy for you.
Yeah.
And that is really different than feeling entitled to your jealousy and feeling like, ah, I'm actually not wanting to be happy for you here because I'm so attached to my pain and to my deprivation.
Yes. 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 Totally. Totally. It's like it's like I can wanting wanting to want to feel good.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
fun.
it's a huge step. And I mean, I will also say that there are situations where maybe compersion is not the answer or it's not even the appropriate response.
Oh, yeah.
Like when there's less than healthy dynamics, when there's things being hidden, when there's people getting excluded, like there's a lot of different circumstances where maybe someone will get almost pressured by their partner to feel compersion, but really the dynamic is not loving.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so almost like it's used as, like a weapon or a manipulative tool of like, well, if you're not feeling compersion for me, then do you even care about me? What do you know?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, I
Mm.
see that a lot in my coaching practice. Like people coming to me and saying like, "Hey, I really want to feel compersion, but my partner has opened a relationship and now they're out every night and they're not giving me anything anymore." Or, like I can paint an extreme
Yeah.
caricatured situation, but yeah, it happens all the time. And, like there has to be love, there has to be needs being met, there has to be a lot of things in place for compersion to flourish. I can't just tell people like, oh yeah, take this pill.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so good to hear because I think that a lot of people, you know, especially people that are opening up a relationship or just delving into the world of non-monogamy and they hear this word compersion and they're like, that's what I want. That's the goal. and
Mhm.
kind of like forget that there's all these steps before that, like being in a healthy relationship and feeling secure enough to feel compersion. Um,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I love that. um, what what I had a question. I lost it. It'll come back to
Oh,
me.
it will. It will.
I wonder what would you say are what would you say are the biggest like challenges or blockages that get in the way of not just feeling compersion, but just in feeling stable enough or secure enough to experience compersion in a non-monogamous relationship?
Mhm, mhm. So that's actually really what I found in my research is what are the factors that promote compersion and what are the factors that block compersion. And there's three categories, really. There's the individual factors, there's relational factors, and there's social factors. And, within the individual factors, two of the main blocks are A, not being on board with non-monogamy,
Mhm.
just not being on board with the ideology, with how it's supposed to look. And that is kind of like the mental piece because a lot of people they call themselves poly under duress, PUD.
Oh, poly under duress. I have not heard that one, but I like it.
Yeah, like that's when you're dragged into poly by someone else, but you're kind of reluctantly accepting to try it. You don't want to lose your partner, but you're not really on board. You don't really want non-monogamy for yourself. It's definitely not your first choice.
Yeah, yeah, in the swinger community, they would call that taking one for the team.
Oh, yeah. Oh my
Uh-huh.
gosh.
Uh-huh.
Good one.
Yep.
So that's definitely a blocker of compersion.
Yeah.
Because if you're not fully on board, then, like how will you share somebody else's joy? It's going to be a lot more far away
Yeah.
as a
Absolutely.
possibility.
Absolutely.
Number two is feeling a lack of security within oneself.
Mm.
So if someone has, like deep insecurities that they haven't, fully integrated, it might be harder to then see a partner going and getting pleasure with someone else, or
Yeah.
harder to really emotionally get on board with that and feel included and feel safe.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's when people start comparing themselves a lot.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. A lot more prey to comparison and negative thinking and fear.
Yeah.
Um, and within that, also, I would include self care
Mhm.
because there's a lot of folks who will say, like, I can get um, to a compersive state if I have had a good night of sleep, if I've eaten well, if I feel great in my body, if I have money in the bank account. I will get myself there versus if I feel personally depleted and my individual needs are not met, it's going to be a lot harder to feel like I have something to give.
Yeah. Ooh. Ooh. I always tell people that's I often work on the other side, like battling jealousy, and I tell them treat
Mhm.
yourself like a toddler. Like, what when a toddler's throwing a fit, well, have they slept? Have they eaten? Are they sick?
Mm.
Do they need care? Do they need love and attention, cuddles? Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
what are your basic care needs that you need before you can like even handle the emotional needs?
Right.
Yeah.
That is such a good one. Yeah. Exactly. Treat yourself like a toddler. I love it. And then moving on to the relational factors, there's a block that is very common is just a lack of security within the relationship. If you feel like your relationship is not fully stable and the love is not flowing, you're not getting your needs met within the relationship, then it's going to be a lot harder to embrace the fact that, hey, they're taking something away from your plate and giving it to someone else.
Yeah.
It's going to feel like there's not enough to go around
Ooh. Ooh, that's so
relationally.
good.
Hmm. And then there's how you feel about your metamours. Metamours being your partner's other partner. And that actually might be the single most impactful factor.
Really?
Another researcher found that to be the case, that this is what is the most impactful thing is if you feel like your metamour is bringing something to the table without being a threat.
Mhm.
So, someone that you can respect and maybe even like, reflects really well on you and your partner, and you feel good about them. You feel like this is someone I actually like, but they're not about to take away my partner. They're not threatening my relationship. That's the best case scenario.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I wonder how much okay, I often wonder how much of, people's opinions of their metamours is, like, not wanting to like them versus
Mm-hmm.
actually seeing problems.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I just don't want to like this person, so I'm gonna see all the negative.
Right, right, right. Like when envy or jealousy and comparison and competition get involved, yes, it definitely can blur our
Yeah.
vision. It's like, oh yeah, that person got promoted over me. Oh, now let me analyze their issues.
Yep. Yep.
We wouldn't do that if someone was not really a threat.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
So
Mm.
there's, it's hard to really like map it out because there's so many interacting factors
Yeah.
there. And because, if your metamour is going to send you flowers while they're on a date with your partner and make a really big effort to connect with you and make you feel appreciated and make you feel like, hey, I really support your relationship.
Yeah.
Like compersion goes both ways too.
Yeah. Yeah.
If your metamour has compersion for your relationship with your partner, it's going to be a lot easier to have compersion for them. There's a feedback loop happening there.
Yes, 100%. 100%. In my own experiences, I've found that to be true when my metamours are like concerned about how I'm feeling and concerned about like, maybe
Hmm.
overstepping
Right.
with scheduling or with just, I don't know, birthdays or holidays or when they're like, "Hey, I'd like your buy-in on this as well." That feels
Hmm.
so good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Then they're not, as likely to be seen as a threat.
Yeah.
They're like, oh gosh, this person cares about me. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. I love it.
Yes.
Is is would you say that compersion is, a practice?
Yes and no. I think it can be practiced as an attitude, as, like practicing filling your cup in all of these different ways, relational, individual, social, which I'm going to get to in a minute. So practicing giving yourself, individually and relationally, a really fertile terrain for it.
Mm,
But I don't think that we can really invoke it out of thin air.
right, right.
I mean, we can, change our thoughts like anything else. It's like, well, like there's things like gratitude. Yes, we can practice gratitude by remembering
Yeah,
something that we're grateful for.
yeah,
And yet sometimes, like actually making sure that we have what we need is also very likely to affect our sense of gratitude for our lives.
yeah,
So I think it's both and, like the mental and embodied practice of like, yes, I actually want to feel more of this and I'm, you know, practicing it,
mhm,
but also I'm giving myself a lot of reasons to feel that.
yeah. Oh, yeah, I like that, that's
And
great.
actually, to that note, the third relational factor is gratitude for the benefits received from your partner's other relationships.
Mm,
So when you can identify things that you benefit from, like whether it's, oh, wow, my metamour is so cool. I now have a new friend, or my partner is getting their needs met somewhere else and I don't have to feel the pressure of meeting all of their needs.
yeah,
Or, wow, my partner is growing and learning things that are now benefiting our relationship. So great. I'm getting a better version of my partner because they're dating this other person. Or just like, I'm so grateful because I get to live the life that feels congruent with who I am.
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
So these are all kinds of benefits that can be perceived as like, wow, like this is adding to my plate and this is adding to our plate. And therefore, I am compersive about this.
Yeah.
I'm interpreting this as a positive event. I'm feeling good about it. Gratitude,
Yeah. Yeah.
big part of it.
I think intentionally creating that like appreciation, maybe making a list or maybe, like going, what are the things that I can
Yes.
appreciate about this?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when people get caught up. It's so easy to get caught up in the negative and the things that aren't working. That it
Mm-hmm.
does
Mm-hmm.
sometimes take a lot of like actual effort to find the things to be appreciative of. But then when you do, it's
Right.
like, oh shit, it was there all along.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ah,
I agree. That's the practice part. Is like, yeah, remembering the positive, building the positive voice. And, we do live in such a mononormative culture, where the world will remind us that monogamy is good and non-monogamy is bad. And so we have to practice, cultivating the positive voice. And that leads me to the social factor that promotes or blocks compersion, and that's like community, being surrounded by people who will support your identity, your lifestyle, your way of conducting your relationships as a non-monogamous person is going to promote compersion because it helps alleviate some of the negative messaging that you might have internalized around non-monogamy.
mhm. Yeah.
So that kind of connects back to the first, like being mentally on board thing. And, a block to that being like not being on board. And sometimes, we're partially on board. We're like, yes, I'm choosing this, but gosh, what is my mom going to think? Or what would my, uncle think? Or, like we still have those negative voices of anti polyamory internalized within us, even if we don't want to. So that is also a practice of getting ourselves in alignment, between what we're doing, what we're thinking, what we're feeling, and deconstructing past conditioning.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, community is so important. I remember I I have always been 100% on board, not always, but since I chose to live non-monogamously, I was like, this is something I want. And
Mm-hmm.
there was so much that I needed to unwind and decondition. And I remember like if I would vent to my friends, like
Mm.
they were like, "Yeah, we're supportive of you," but they'd be like, "I don't understand. Why is he doing that or why are they doing that?" And so then instead of getting to like just vent about a relationship thing, now I was having to like teach
Mm-hmm.
and defend and go, no, he's not actually doing something wrong. I agreed to this. I'm just still having feelings that are from a lifetime of living monogamously.
Mm-hmm.
And being able
Mm-hmm.
to talk to people who also have experienced that made me feel like, oh, okay, I'm not weird. This is normal. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay. Whew, it makes such a
Yes.
difference.
Uh-huh. It really does.
Yeah.
It really does. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people who come, to me as a coach who are just starting to explore non-monogamy, that's one of the first thing I tell them is like join a community.
Yeah.
Find people to talk to about this. Like, I don't want to be the only single person that you talk to about this who will accept you. Like, you need more.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need spaces of safety in your world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember like I had read about compersion,
Hmm.
kind of understood the concept, but was like, have I ever experienced it? Like, would I even know what that feels like?
Hmm. Hmm.
And somebody pointed out to me, and I don't remember who, but somebody pointed out to me when I get excited for my kids, like when my kids are happy about
Mm.
something,
Hmm.
just like, "Yeah, heck yeah, that is amazing for you." Like, I like that embodied feeling of compersion, and that was when I went,
Hmm.
"Oh, it is something I'm capable of. It's a feeling I'm capable of."
Right.
And then I was able to, like, translate it
Mm.
into my romantic relationships.
Mm. Yes, yes, yes. And I think that's why it's so important to have a word for it.
Yeah.
because it makes us realize like, oh yeah, like I kind of know what that is. I know what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you watch maybe like a kid open a gift in front of you. They're so happy, and you're not trying to get that gift away from them. You're just like, wow, I want to share that joy. It's a beautiful moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or yeah, your best friend gets a promotion or, falls in love, and it doesn't take anything away from you. You're just so happy to share their joy, and you feel like it's a good thing for the universe, or it's a good thing for them, and it's a good thing for,
Yeah.
you're just really on board with that.
Mm. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love being able to share those things that people can go, "Oh, it's not this weird thing that's only related to a non-monogamous relationship."
Hmm. Yeah. And I think compersion should be in the dictionary for that reason. We should all be familiar with that emotion. The more we have access to those words to describe our emotions, the more we're likely to experience them.
It's really funny whenever I'm writing like a blog post or a podcast summary or something, compersion is the only word that always has the little red squiggly line under it.
Yes.
Like, don't
Talk to
you
me about
mean
it.
something else?
Compression?
Yeah.
No.
Computation?
Compassion? No, nope.
That's fun.
Yeah, I know, I know. Oh my gosh, a whole 500 pages of dissertations with little red dots underneath. Yep, that was
Uh-huh.
my life. Like, that is really what I mean. I do mean compersion.
I want to train Google to understand this word.
Right? I actually emailed the Merriam-Webster dictionary 2 times to ask them to include compersion in the dictionary. And both times they responded saying like, no, not yet. It's not widely used enough. So
Next year.
next time, next year. Yeah, I think it's coming.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. We're doing
inevitable.
it right here. Everybody who's listening to
Yes.
this podcast is now going to start
Hmm.
using that word, and then the dictionary is going to include it.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
Um,
Right.
have you have you found compersion to come easy to you, like always? Like, did you have to figure out what that feeling was?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think it came easy to me in so many life circumstances, in, like my friendships, my colleagues, work relationships, all of that. And in my romantic relationships, I just think it was very, very circumstantial.
Mm,
And that's what also kind of led me on the path of, like looking at, well, what are the contexts that promote it or not? Because yes, I mean, in some cases, I would be a full like, yes, please go be with someone else. I mean, pick someone I like, pick
right.
someone nice,
Have good
not
taste.
just anyone. But, there was no fear, there was no qualms about it. It just felt really like green light.
Yeah.
And in some other circumstances, it just felt wrong. Or, like the context, the person they would be with, the way that they would communicate about it, there was no compersion there. I
Mm-hmm.
just didn't feel included. I just didn't feel respected. I didn't feel safe. So I know kind of like the space in between too, where you're like, okay, well, this is fine. I agree to this. It is ultimately safe, but it doesn't feel totally amazing.
Yeah. It just
So,
is.
yeah, it's like, oh, it's okay. I just have to kind of deal with this new sensation in my belly that's like, ooh, okay, like, what's happening? What does it mean? Like having to also learn to interpret our emotions and our experiences, like outside of the normal categories.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Oh.
So
I can feel that in my belly.
yeah, that like, oh, it's like a tingling. I'm a little bit uneasy, but what does that mean? Is there anything actually wrong happening or not? And sometimes it's a matter of repetition, and that's something else that came, in my life, but also in my research, people saying like, well, yeah, like it takes time, it takes maybe like several weeks, months, years of my partner being with someone else and then coming back to me and things being normal and okay for to train my nervous system
Yeah. Yeah.
that this is fine,
Yeah.
that this is safe.
They came back. I
Like,
didn't die. Okay. We're
mm-hmm,
fine.
mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, next time is easier. Next time is easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the new normal.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially coming from monogamy and everything our culture says. Like just being able to dive in and be like, it's totally fine.
Mhm.
That's probably not it probably doesn't come that easy to everybody.
Yeah, no, it's a paradigm shift
Yeah.
for most people.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. It's not easy to kind of reboot in a way like everything you've been taught about love
Mm,
and about sex.
yeah.
It's a really big shift.
Ooh, that's really good. Okay, I'm curious. Love and sex, right? For some people, like having creating an emotional connection, their partner creating an emotional connection with someone, totally fine. Doesn't send off any big signals, but the sex does. And for other
Mhm.
people, the sex totally fine, but the emotions feel threatening.
Right.
What is going on there?
Yeah, it's a super good question. And if you talk to a evolutionary biologist, they would probably make the argument that for women, a male partner having an emotional connection with another woman is more threatening
Yeah.
versus for a man, a female partner having sex with another man is more threatening because of evolutionary factors.
Sure.
Like, for the man, he'll be more threatened if he ends up raising another man's progeny.
Uh-huh.
Like, there's this whole paternity certainty argument.
Uh-huh.
And then for women, it would be more risky to lose the affection and the protection of her man if
Yeah.
he forms an emotional bond with someone else,
Oh.
which comes back to the whole like sperm is cheap and eggs are expensive.
Brilliant.
Yeah. That said, I haven't found it to be always true in practice.
Mm-mm. No.
Oftentimes it's kind of the other way around, like I know a lot of men who are fine if their woman is going to have sex with anyone, but if she forms an emotional bond, that is what threatens them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's no, scientific
Sure.
answer to that. More, I think, at the individual and biographical level, how a person was raised to think about love and what feels maybe like this more scarce resource for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes, like love and affection feels a lot more scarce than sex. And that's the thing that people have learned to think about like, oh, this is really the thing you reserve for one person.
Yeah, and hold on to it.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you, feel that for someone else, it means that the first feeling with this other person was not true or is
Mm.
not real anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lot of just like conditioned beliefs around this.
Yeah.
Even, oh my gosh, like you watch a show like The Bachelor or those other like dating shows.
Mm-hmm.
I think increasingly people, like I mean those TV shows are showing people having sex with a lot of people, but then the ultimate goal being I'm going to form an emotional connection with one person.
Yeah.
And that really can't coexist with an emotional with someone else.
Yeah.
So I feel like our culture is starting to broaden its understanding that sex is not, meant to be exclusive, but love is still the staying on a pedestal that you reserve for the one.
Oh, yeah. It's like the when people say, I've never felt this before, which for
Yeah.
some reason means that every time I felt love before, it was inferior to what I'm feeling now, which I
Hmm.
don't think
Hmm.
is true. But we have to
Yeah,
have like it
yeah.
has to be you have to pick the best one always and keep going to the next best
Hmm.
one.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm. And yeah, like
fascinating.
every connection is going to be unique,
Yeah.
and not every love connection is going to lead to life partnership or life partnership being a good idea.
Yeah.
Sometimes we tend to conflate, oh, I'm feeling so much love for you. And that means we should spend our lives together and merge finances and have babies. Like, no, like these things are quite different.
Yeah. Yeah. Chemistry doesn't necessarily equal compatibility.
Exactly, exactly. And it doesn't mean that this chemistry is not good or real or powerful and potentially life changing. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean it's inferior.
Yeah.
But again, like we put certain types of relationships on a pedestal, like
Yeah.
the ones that are, entangled, official, legally bounded,
Mm,
as long lasting as possible.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's also fascinating. Relationships are just in general, just the whole everything about relationships is so fascinating. And it's like I feel like we can never reach the bottom or the top of what is possible
Mm,
to know, right? Like we can never just
right.
know everything. There's just more, and I think it's constantly evolving, and it's fascinating.
Oh my God, yeah, yeah. And we're constantly evolving, we're constantly changing. So the kind of relationships we have are never, they can never really be stagnant.
Right?
I mean, even when we try to make them stagnant and stable and kind of like in a little box, that's just not how it works.
Yeah.
Like Esther Perel says, most of us are going to be, in at least three main, really big long-term relationships in the course of our lives. And some of us are going to do that with the same person,
Uh-huh.
but it's going to be still like iterations of a relationship. It's not going to be the same relationship. Like we're bound to change and reorganize and kind of recommit if we're going to be with someone over time.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. I love that. She's brilliant.
Hmm. Yeah.
What advice would you give someone who is struggling with, like jealousy or insecurity or wanting to feel compersion and is struggling with that? What advice would you give them?
Mm. Well, first, I would do an inventory of themselves and their relationship and their social environment. And
Yeah.
I actually have a little spreadsheet that you can download for free on my website, whatiscompersion.com. It's a little ebook that goes through those factors. And then, like, there's a little spreadsheet that allows people to identify where they feel the strongest
Yeah.
and where they feel the weakest.
Oh, brilliant.
So I think identifying the bottlenecks in your life and in your relationships where love doesn't totally flow, whether it's for yourself or for your partner and between you and your metamours, and where is it that things are not really flowing, and then address those bottlenecks,
Mm,
whether it's individually in therapy with coaching, or using different tools that you can, like if it's an individual thing, like, oh my gosh, I'm not totally on board and I feel like I have a lot of monogamous conditioning, like maybe like to read more and really cultivate your ideas of what your values should be. If it's more of like personal insecurities, maybe you
mm,
need to work through that with a therapist or doing healing work. And if it's relational, then having relational solutions. So that's what I would say, is just like identify where the bottlenecks is.
yeah. Yeah. That's brilliant. That's so good. I think um it's too easy to try to choose to pin non-monogamy to the wall and go, that's why we're having a problem. When really it's,
Hmm.
a relational problem or just an internal, my relationship wounds problem or just how you're being treated.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
People don't always treat each other well, unfortunately. And
Hmm.
sometimes that's the bottleneck.
Yeah.
You don't need therapy. You just need to have, a better relationship. And sometimes non-monogamy does bring things under surface that were there, but they were just not being expressed
Hmm.
within the context of monogamy. So it's normal that problems will show up when you try to transition your relationship from one paradigm to the other. It doesn't mean your relationship is doomed. It doesn't mean non-monogamy is at fault. But yes, you'll have to probably address some of, you know, previously dormant relationship issues and personal issues.
Yeah. 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 Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you want to share with the listeners?
Ooh, good question. You're asking really good questions, by the way.
Thank you.
Let's see. Well, a couple of unusual. research findings that I think are super important also to add to this,
Yeah.
mix on compersion is that compersion is not an on or off switch. It's really important for people to know.
Is it a dimmer?
Yeah, it's a spectrum.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
It's not like, oh, you have it or you don't. It's usually more like, well, you have it sometimes and you don't sometimes. And that is totally okay.
Mm. It's funny whenever somebody tells me, well, I don't experience jealousy.
Mm,
My response is, you just haven't had anything trigger jealousy. You haven't had a
mhm,
reason to experience jealousy. It doesn't mean you're not capable of it or that it won't ever exist in your emotional world. Same with
mhm.
compersion. Just because you
Right.
haven't doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like you're not dead yet.
Yeah. You got time.
Yeah.
Oh,
And the other thing that's important to know is you can experience compersion and jealousy at the same time. And
yes.
sometimes they'll be located in different parts of your body. Like some people say, like, yeah, I might feel jealousy in my gut, like there's something that is still like not used to this new paradigm, but in my mind, I feel compersive,
Mhm. Mhm.
or I think compersively rather.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I
So that's
experienced that a lot.
also, oh, really?
Yes, a lot actually, because like I said, I've always just felt very, very jealous and it's taken a long time to move away from that. And so now I can absolutely recognize like I'm excited for you. And I'm also like I'm so
Mm,
envious about where you're going and I really wish I was doing that thing and like it feels it's visceral like in my body. Like I'm
mhm.
feeling this like I want to be doing that. And I'm excited that you're
Yeah,
doing it too. I don't want to take that away
yeah.
from you, but like I really want to be a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, wanting to feel included.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's one of
Absolutely.
the main distinctions, between jealousy and compersion. Like jealousy oftentimes happens when we feel excluded,
Mhm.
and inclusion leads to compersion.
Yeah. Yeah.
So whatever we can do to create that sense of inclusion, of like, yeah, we're all on the same team.
Oh gosh, my poor husband, he has 4 partners and he gets this a lot with like movies and TV shows. He
Mm,
watches the
mhm.
same movies and TV shows so often because he has partners that are like, "But I wanted to watch that."
Oh my God.
Oh,
That's so
poor thing.
sweet. Oh,
Yeah, it's a nice light easy
well,
one.
yeah, yeah, that's like, okay, it's not a huge obstacle. I guess
Right?
I've seen worse.
Yeah.
Having to watch the same TV show 4 times. Okay, as long as he has the time.
Right? If that's what you wanna do, great.
Mm. But I'm curious if you would like to share, like, what do you feel helped you, you said it took you like 5 years or so to feel it. Like, what do you think happened in that time frame that allowed you to feel compersion?
So first was being able to identify my jealousy and like recognize
Mhm.
what emotions I was feeling and kind of what they were attached to. For me personally, it was a lot of like deep insecurity and wounds around like being chosen and being included, right? And so
Mm,
when I was
mhm.
able to recognize, I remember specifically one event where I walked in, I have a triad and my husband and our girlfriend were in the bed and they were inviting me, but I felt like so deep in my body like I was not included, I wasn't wanted, and it it I was like, "What is going on?" Like, I was trying to figure it out, and I was like, "This feels just like when I was 11 years old and my
Mm.
3 best friends were all having a sleepover that I wasn't invited to." Like,
Mm.
and I remember just, I'm not loved, I'm not wanted, they don't care about me anymore, and it turns
Mhm.
out, like, maybe one of their parents said, "You can have 2 kids over, you can't have 3 kids over, it's too
Mm.
many, I can't deal with it." Now, as a parent, I understand
Mhm.
that. And
Yeah.
as an 11-year-old little girl, I was just devastated. And it was the
Oh.
same feeling. I walk into my bedroom and there are my partners having a sleepover without me. Oh,
Oh.
and so
Oh.
when I was able to find, like, where these feelings connected, like, what am I really upset about? Am I upset about these 2 people that both clearly love me and both, like, said, "Hey, you're invited, come join us." that really what
Mhm,
I'm upset
mhm,
about? Or am I like, what's deeper here? And so when I was able
mhm,
to start uncovering those things, it became a
mhm,
lot easier to then start to shift to, and I can also feel excited that you guys are having this. You're having this experience. You're both so happy. You're laughing and smiling and giggling and going, "Hey, come play with us." And even though I
mhm,
was feeling that like bleh feeling,
mhm,
I
mhm,
also was going, "And I'm excited for you too. I don't want to take that away from you." And so it was just this
mhm,
like a slow building, like stacking the bricks on top of each other of having these experiences that went from okay, fine to good to happy to like it slowly grew. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I get chills when you're talking about that sleepover.
Oh, yeah, I mean, and I've
Mm,
found that that kind of like many of these my like jealous and possessive feelings, I can pinpoint most of them back to being like a preteen in those years where I was really learning how to form relationships outside of my caretakers, outside of my family,
mhm,
right? Like
mhm, mhm,
how to form relationships, how to maintain those relationships, how to socialize, like all of those things, things where you're getting bullied or, having
mhm,
crushes
mhm,
on 27 different boys that I could go through
mhm.
my diaries and see like I was in love every other week with a different boy. Like that I probably never even talked to, right?
Right, right,
Which,
right.
maybe I was always poly. Imagine that.
Uh-huh.
I just had to pick the next best one.
Yes.
And then I think on top of that, then I got into my like there was my husband, my girlfriend, and then I started another relationship with a man who has two other partners. And so
Mhm,
having the experience of being on the other side of that,
mhm,
right? Being
mhm.
the metamour outside of the home,
Right.
and putting effort and attention into building relationships with my metamours and being conscientious of their relationship and how everybody was feeling, that added another layer of my ability to experience
Mm,
compersion and like
mm.
a different lens or a different facet of it that like
Yes,
made it
yes,
more
yes, yes.
well-rounded.
That makes sense. Yeah, being able to see the world from someone else's perspective is kind of the first step of empathy, which is
Yeah.
the first step of compersion.
Yes, 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 yes. Like instead of like I see it, I actually could feel it.
Yes, 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 absolutely. It's a whole different neurological network,
Yeah.
actually. Like when you're actually feeling what someone else feels versus imagining
Yeah.
what someone else feels.
So
And
different.
they're both, legitimate. But yeah, like it's a lot deeper when you can actually, like, oh, I feel what you feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Wow, that's so cool.
Thank you
Thank
for
you for
asking.
sharing that. Yes, 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 I love that. Yeah, and like it makes me think of mudita, which is the Buddhist term for compersion. It's a Sanskrit word, and they don't talk about sexuality in Buddhism, but they talk about this ability to have empathic joy, and that being one of the four qualities of the enlightened person,
Hmm.
along with equanimity, compassion, and loving kindness. But they say that actually empathic joy is the hardest one of the four to achieve because we have so many blocks and we have this sense of being separate, like this quote unquote illusion of separation and this illusion of living in a zero sum game kind of world. And at the spiritual level, knowing that we're all one ultimately, that, more for you is more for me, it's not less for me, but it's a jump. It's a jump for us to, actually get there and get to that space where, yeah, like I actually do think that even if I am sitting over here and you guys are on the bed having fun, like I can still rejoice in your joy, even if I'm not like right there getting all the attention.
Yeah. Oh, it is. I love that you said it's a jump. It feels like a leap of faith, especially if you haven't experienced
Yeah.
it. Like, okay, I'm gonna let go of this um fear, jealousy, insecurity, whatever the thing is, this negative feeling, this dark feeling. I'm just gonna let go of it and see what happens.
Mhm, mhm.
Am I gonna feel something good on the other side if I make this leap? And then when you do,
Mhm.
it's like, "Oh, shit, I can do that and I'll survive." Cool.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
so good.
Oh, I know, it's mysterious. I feel like there's still a part of, this experience and this phenomenon that I don't have the words to describe, and
Mm.
I am not fully, like, I can't say like, "Oh, I understand exactly everything about compersion." Like, yes, I did some research about it and I can talk about it, but there's still an element of mystery
Yeah.
to it for me.
Ooh, that's fun. There's
Yeah,
so much to learn.
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, I have, one more question for you. And this question
Mhm,
won't be on the main podcast. I hold this aside for supporters of the show on our
mhm.
Patreon at patreon.com/notmonogamous. And it is called Just the Tip. And it is, what is your favorite or best sex tip? That's really good. Oh, I love that. How can people find you?
Yay. So I have two websites. My compersion centric website is whatiscompersion.com. And people can read all of my research on compersion. There's also a great list of resources on the topic, articles, books, etc. And there is a page, that talks about my coaching. So you can contact me there and get a free 30-minute introductory session. And if you're really just more interested in dating coaching, I also have a website called loveinsight-dating.com, where I talk more about dating specifically for people who are monogamous or non-monogamous or somewhere
Mm,
in between. And finally, I'm at Love Insight Dating on Instagram. It's actually love_insight_dating. So
mm.
follow me on Instagram. I put a lot of good stuff out there.
Perfect. I love that. And I'll put all of that in the show notes so people can, click links and do all that fancy stuff.
Cool. I
Thank you
know.
so
So many
much. This
things
has
to
been
do.
fun.
Yay. It's so fun to meet you. Finally. Thank you so much for inviting me here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was Marie Thouin from whatiscompersion.com sharing her Just the Tip special behind the scenes content just for supporters of the show on Patreon. Go check it out. You can hear that sexy little bit. And also you can join me every single month for a Q&A group coaching call where you can ask all of your questions about relationships, sex, non-monogamy, the universe, whatever you want to talk about. Bye.